Hi, welcome to Arts Alive. I'm your host, Walt Height, and normally when you see me in this chair for this show, it generally means we're going to be talking about theater or movies or something along those lines. Well, today is no exception, but I would point out, I think that we're talking about theater. We're sort of talking about a mutual admiration society this time out because the play we're going to be doing is an old comedy classic, Harvey, and yours truly happens to be in the cast. But I have a couple of important people from the show joining me today, and so I'd like to introduce them to you now. Director Steve Cox and actor extraordinaire Holly Spencer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you, Walt.
Well, before we jump into Harvey, let's find out a little bit more about you. Now, Holly, you're a McMinnville native, and you've been in theater for a long time. I want to hear some of your story.
Born and raised in Mac, and started out doing plays at the junior high. Did my first audition for Annie in '84 at the gallery, and it felt to me like Broadway. Because there were so many kids and the lobby was full and there were callbacks and I had never experienced anything like that. And then I was hooked. So I did gallery, high school, theater until I graduated, went off to college in Seattle, got my BFA in theater, went off to New York, did national tours with the Shakespeare Company, a lot of bad film, stuff like that. And finally moved back to Portland and bought a house in McMinnville, and here I am back at Gallery again.
Your first show here, again, you said it was Annie?
Was Annie.
Were you just one of the orphans?
Oh, I wanted to be an orphan so badly, but I was 14. I was a little too old for that, a little too young for some of the other, more mature roles. So I had bits and bobs. I was a Boylan sister. That stuff. Yeah. And just walking in the background, chorus,
So over the course of time, have you had a preference for the type of show you like to get involved in, whether it be edgy, deep drama or flat out comedy or...
Well, I like all that. Heck, I like musicals. I used to love to dance in the musicals. But I fulfilled my number one musical that I ever wanted to do. So now I really love the classics. I really love tragedies. I really love absurd plays. And right now, 2 times in a row, 2 shows for me, I'm enjoying character work and comedy. Mm-hmm. So I'm on this comedy plane right now, which for us involves a bit of improvisation and just trying new things each night, which I really appreciate and is good for the soul.
Yeah, great, super. Yeah. You've given your all to the theater at times. I remember Rabbit Hole. I think was that the one where you? That's the one. I hate. Maybe I shouldn't bring this up, perhaps, but I think you clobbered yourself one night accidentally.
No, I wasn't in Rabbit Hole.
Well, what was it? Was it the dining room? No, not the dining room. What was that?
Oh, I've clobbered myself so many times on stage. Well, Dinner with Friends.
That wasn't Dinner with Friends. It was something else.
Oh, I clobbered myself in Dinner with Friends. You mean actually hurt myself?
Yeah.
That was Dinner with Friends. Yeah, that was a bad stunt move, and the bed didn't really have a mattress, and it was just a crack to the shoulder right on 2x4, and pop.
Oh.
So
wow.
That's a show I just couldn't finish. But it wasn't feeling right anyway. So if we had to cancel one, that would have been the one.
Steve, so you're directing this show. You've directed before and you've performed before at Gallery Theater.
Yes, I've been in, it must be something like 10 or 12 shows since 2007 as an actor, and then I've directed. This is my second arena show. I did Enchanted April in 2016, and I directed some Reader's Theater shows over the years. And I was just most recently I was in Barefoot in the Park in the summer. minor role, but critical.
Essential.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, without the telephone guy, that show just doesn't work. I think anybody will tell you that. So, yeah. So I've. It's nice to get back directing again, which I really enjoy. The only problem is it makes me very jealous because I want to be acting. You know, it's like I want to be out there with you guys acting because I really enjoy that. Whereas directing is a lot of fun too, but it's like. It's just a sort of different mindset, and it's not as fun.
Well, community theater, it's, I think, typical for directors to be chief cook and bottle washer for every last little thing that you have to attend to.
Yes.
And nothing's too small that you have to take care of, and it's always kind of in my experience, kind of a roller coaster ride being director of a show. So now you arrived in Mac from where?
Well, technically from Arkansas, but that's not where I grew up or anything. That was just a side step, and then I was paroled, and then I came to McMinnville in 2004. And then I went to work for this very institution, MCM. That's why I came out here. I'm originally from the Northwest. I grew up in Longview, Washington, and I took a job. It was a job in Arkansas, not a prison sentence. It just felt that way. And that was in 2001 to 2004, running a student television station out there, and then at the University of Central Arkansas. And then my wife at the time and I did not feel like we were really Southern people. So after 3 years, we were like, we got to get out of here. Let's go back to the Northwest. And we just decided we'd take. Our daughter was really small, and my wife was working freelance, so we could go wherever. I got a job, and this job here at MCM came up, so I came out here.
Harvey. Was this your choice, or was this offered to you as an established?
It was offered.
Scheduled.
Yeah,
play?
I had let the theater manager know that he had asked, or through an intermediary, if I was interested in directing again, and I said sure. But I think this was after the play selection had already occurred, and so he came to me and said, "We've got Harvey coming up next year. You want to direct it?" And I'm like, "Well, you know, I'm kind of." I told him, you know, I was hoping to do something a little edgier next time, you know, after doing such a sweet play in Enchanted April. But and he's like, "Well, I'll tell you what. If you do Harvey, next time you can do something edgy." And I'm like, "Okay." So, but the fact of the matter is, I love the show. I mean, I had seen the movie. I'd never seen the play version of it, but I think most people have seen the old Jimmy Stewart classic.
Oh yeah, it's a very famous movie. I think a lot of people, when they think of Jimmy Stewart, think of that particular. He made hundreds of movies.
Right. Yeah.
But I think that's one of his signature films, and so in my case, the business has been to exorcise any element of Stewart from the character.
Well, and you haven't mentioned it yet, but you just referred yourself as being in the cast, but of course you're playing Elwood P. Dowd, the lead, in Harvey. So yes, and we talked about that at the very beginning. It's like, I don't want a James Stewart impersonation. I want your own spin on it, and you've done that. It
has to be. I mean, sadly, I have seen plays where the lead character had been played by Stewart, and the actor on the stage putting a little Stewart into them, like, time out.
Right.
That, come on.
Yeah.
That's cheating.
It's well, not cheating so much. It's just kind of a cheap shortcut. And that's kind of how I see it.
Yeah.
Now, in this play, of course, Elwood P. Dowd is a gentle tippler, I guess we could call him, who has an invisible 6-foot rabbit for a friend. Can you share the plot just briefly with me?
Sure. So as you said, Elwood is...
And I promise to get back to you, Holly, here in a second.
I'm right here.
Well, yeah, so Elwood is a middle-aged man who has, as you say, an invisible 6-foot, 1/2-inch rabbit friend.
Debatable.
Yes, and as he's a tippler, or you might even say a functional alcoholic, and he's he's very happy with his life and his friend, and he goes around town and sees his friends and goes to bars. But unfortunately, it's, word is getting out. People are starting to know that Elwood has this friend, and Vita, his sister, played by Holly, and her daughter, Myrtle May, are becoming very frustrated because they want to have an active social life in the community, but they're afraid that their eccentric family member will put people off, and Myrtle May will never find, a social life or a husband or something like that. So Vita attempts to have Elwood committed to a sanitarium. And I don't want to give anything more than that away, but we'll just say hilarity ensues from that point. What's nice about it is a comedy, for sure, but it does have some dramatic elements, some very heartfelt elements in it. And I think besides just being entertainment, I think that there's a sort of undercurrent of the importance of family bonds, for example, as a kind of a background to all that, which is very touching by the end of the show. So,
It was written by Mary Chase, who didn't write a whole lot of plays. This is pretty much the one she's known for.
Well, she struck gold with her first try then.
Well, of course, so you're mentioning this is a comedy, and your character, Vita, it has very broad comic possibilities.
Isn't that great? That's what I was looking for.
So tell me a little bit about how you've been developing.
Oh boy,
Vita.
well, there's just so much to think about still with this script. In my mind, there's been so many directions that Vita could go. Does she see Harvey? Does she not see Harvey? Does she want to stick by Elwood's side, or is she really committed to Myrtle's side? The comedy just comes with the situations that she finds herself in, and you think she's this kind of upper-class, hoity-toity gal putting on this event with her daughter, looking for a husband for her daughter, and by the end of it, she's kind of a blundering, broken down gal. But I think through all of it, she's got a deep love for both her daughter and her brother. It's just that the comedy is popping out, and I keep finding new areas for, I like to call them bits. I just like to look for bits. I learned that from a director in New York, and there's just so much opportunity in Harvey to create a funny moment. There's so many funny lines, and they're so subtle. I just think after this show is over, I'll still be finding him. I'll look at the script again. I can still see that could have been a moment.
That could woulda, shoulda, coulda.
So many.
But before we go any further, because we don't have a lot of time here, I probably should have asked you, the viewer, to get out pencil and paper, because we have some dates to talk about here. Harvey opens
Friday, March 31st.
Friday, March 31st, and runs for three
weeks. Yeah.
All are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and so the show closes with a matinee, which, again, I think was a brilliant decision on the part of the theater to do that, because you're not there at 2 in the morning trying to take your set down.
Right.
Yeah.
It used to be on the closing Saturday night. So again, March 31st is when Harvey opens. Real quickly, let's touch on a couple of the other performers that are in this. We've got, Larissa Miller plays your daughter.
Yes.
Myrtle May. John Olson, Beck Hassel, and
Tanya Nichols.
All not quite first-timers at Gallery Theater, but close to it. Gabe Cook, who has been in a lot of shows, but he's taken on a more substantial role this time. So
and Erica Fox, who is she plays Nurse Kelly, and this is her first time on the gallery stage, I believe. So it's really nice to have a combination of newer folks and old gallery veterans. It's nice to get some new people in and see what they can do.
And we have a couple of doctors. David Bates is in this. He's a longtime veteran. He's sort of in your camp. He likes those edgy dramas.
We've done a few. Yes.
Yes, you have. And Eli Jacob, who many of you out there may remember being Gaston in Beauty and the Beast a couple of years ago, among many others, Lord Farquaad in Shrek, and so he has a pretty long resume too. Am I missing anybody? Because it's common for me to miss something.
Yes,
Did you say John? You said John Olson.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
did. I did.
No, I
That's
think
fine.
you've got everybody.
Just
Oh,
pick-
and Olivia Spencer.
Oh, yes.
My kidlet. My
yeah.
kidlet.
Yeah, she plays Miss Johnson, the Vita's housekeeper. And
Very sweet.
Yeah, and she's also helping us out backstage with props and stuff like that. So.
Okay, so let's see. I'm running down the list real quick before we close, because I have forgotten people in the past.
Yeah, I think you got it. You got it.
Okay. Well, I think we're out of time, so I'd like to thank both of you for dropping in and talking about Harvey. Again, Harvey opens on March 31st and runs for 3 weekends. So, and get your tickets now. If it's like any of the past few shows, it's going to fill up pretty quickly out there. So again, thanks for being here, and I'll
Thanks for
see
having us.
you
Thank you.
at the theater.